November 22nd, 1963. A city bathed in autumn sunlight, crowds lining the streets, American flags snapping in the breeze, and in an open motorcade, the most powerful man on earth, smiling, waving, alive. Then a crack in the air, then another. And within seconds, the 35th President of the United States lay slumped in his wife's arms, his blood staining her pink suit, her hands trembling, her eyes wide with a horror no human being should ever have to witness. Jackie Kennedy did not let go of him, not when the Secret Service rushed forward, not when the car accelerated toward Parkland Memorial Hospital. She held him because some part of her, perhaps, refused to believe that the most protected man in the world had just been murdered on a public street, in broad daylight, in front of hundreds of witnesses. And yet, he was gone. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, war hero, senator, father, the symbol of an entire generation's hope, was pronounced dead at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. America would never be the same, but here is what the history books don't tell you in full. Here is what 6 decades of investigations, declassified files, forensic re-examinations, and deathbed confessions have left behind. Not answers, but a wound that has never healed. A case that the most powerful intelligence apparatus in human history has never convincingly closed. A murder so consequential, so layered with contradictions, so buried beneath official silence, that the question still echoes today with the same raw urgency it carried in 1963. Who killed John F. Kennedy? Was it a lone, unstable drifter named Lee Harvey Oswald, a man who himself was shot dead 2 days later before he could speak a single word in court? Was it the CIA, an organization Kennedy had vowed to splinter into 1,000 pieces after the catastrophic Bay of Pigs invasion? Was it the Mafia, whose leaders Kennedy's own brother was hunting with relentless legal pressure? Was it the military-industrial complex, the generals and defense contractors who saw Kennedy's secret pursuit of peace with the Soviet Union as an existential betrayal? Or was it something darker still? A conspiracy so vast, so embedded within the institutions of American power, that exposing it would have torn the Republic apart? 61 years after that motorcade turned onto Elm Street, the United States government still has not released all the classified files related to the Kennedy assassination. Think about that. A democracy, the world's oldest constitutional republic, and it is still hiding something. This documentary will take you inside the evidence, the contradictions, the suppressed testimonies, and the competing theories. Not as speculation, but as serious investigative analysis. We will follow the facts where they lead, even when they lead somewhere deeply uncomfortable. Because Kennedy's murder is not just a cold case, it is the defining unsolved crime of the modern world. And if a president can be killed and the truth can be buried, then every assumption we hold about power, justice, and democracy deserves to be questioned. To understand who killed John F. Kennedy, you must first understand who John F. Kennedy truly was. Not the myth, not the marble statue, the real man and the real enemies he made. Because by November 1963, John Kennedy had managed to do something almost no president in American history had done before him. He had made powerful enemies on every side simultaneously. The CIA hated him. The Pentagon feared him, the Mafia wanted him gone, and somewhere inside the corridors of Washington's deepest power structures, men with enormous resources and zero accountability were watching him and calculating. But let's go back, further back. 1961. Kennedy enters the White House as the youngest elected president in American history. The Cold War is at its most dangerous peak. The Soviet Union has nuclear weapons. Cuba has just fallen to Fidel Castro, 90 miles from American soil. And the CIA hands Kennedy a plan they have been preparing for months, a covert invasion of Cuba, using CIA-trained Cuban exiles. They call it Operation Zapata. History will call it the Bay of Pigs. Kennedy approves it, then watches it collapse into catastrophe within 72 hours. The invasion fails completely. The Cuban exiles are captured, America is humiliated on the world stage, and Kennedy, furious, betrayed, feeling manipulated by his own intelligence apparatus, turns on the CIA with a cold, controlled rage that Washington had never seen from him before. He fires CIA Director Allen Dulles. He fires Deputy Director Charles Cabell. He tells his closest advisors, in words that will later be documented and quoted, that he wants to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. These are not the words of a man making idle conversation. These are the words of a president who has just declared war on the most powerful secret organization his own government controls. The CIA does not forget. It does not forgive. Then comes October 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis. 13 days that bring the world to the absolute edge of nuclear annihilation. Soviet missiles, armed and operational, pointed at American cities from Cuban soil. The Joint Chiefs of Staff, America's top military commanders, push Kennedy hard. Bomb Cuba, invade, strike first. Kennedy refuses. He negotiates, secretly, directly with Khrushchev. He makes a private deal. America will never invade Cuba, and American missiles in Turkey will quietly be removed in exchange for Soviet withdrawal. The crisis ends. The world exhales. But the generals are furious. In their eyes, Kennedy blinked. He surrendered. He made a secret deal that compromised American strength. General Curtis LeMay, the Air Force Chief of Staff, reportedly tells Kennedy to his face that the resolution is the greatest defeat in our history. These are America's own military commanders, speaking to their own president with barely concealed contempt. Then Kennedy goes further. In June 1963, he delivers a speech at American University that stuns Washington's entire national security establishment. He calls for peace with the Soviet Union. He speaks of their shared humanity. He begins secret back-channel negotiations toward a possible treaty. He signs the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, the first arms control agreement of the Cold War. And according to newly examined historical evidence, he begins secret communications with Fidel Castro himself, exploring the possibility of normalized relations. To the CIA, the Pentagon, and the Mafia, who had all lost enormous financial interests in Cuba, this is not diplomacy. This is betrayal. Meanwhile, Attorney General Robert Kennedy, Jack's brother, is waging an aggressive, relentless legal campaign against organized crime. He has mafia boss Carlos Marcello deported. He is building cases against Jimmy Hoffa, Santos Traficante, and Sam Giancana, men who had previously worked alongside the CIA in plots to assassinate Castro, men who had, according to later testimony, directly said that the only way to stop Robert Kennedy was to remove his brother first. By the autumn of 1963, John Kennedy is flying into Dallas with a list of enemies that reads like a map of American power itself. The CIA, the Joint Chiefs, the Mafia, the Cuban exile community, the oil industry, the defense contractors, all of them had motive, all of them had resources, and all of them had one thing in common.